My mother-in-law asked my husband a year and a half ago to watch over her dog for her when she went to surgery and rehab following surgery. She's a healer. I had no say in it because I didn't even know until the dog was at my house. I had a problem with this from the beginning. The dog was completely untrained. Multiple times the dog would jump up on our table, steal food from the kids' plates and growl at you when you corrected her. She went after my cats multiple times. She crapped in the house constantly, no matter how often she was outside. She would do zoomies around the yard for easily 40 minutes, come inside and immediately squat to poop. And she nipped my and my husband's face, not the kids oddly enough. Hardly enough to draw blood too. If you pulled away before she got you, you could hear her teeth smashing against each other. I didn't want the dog and expressed it hundreds of times. He refused to get rid of her because of his mother, despite his mother having been out of rehab for over a month at that point. Well, his mom told us 3 months ago that she would take this dog back in April, but 2 weeks ago she came to our house and surprise, surprise, she has a new dog. She told us, "Well, you've had her for so long that I figured you could just keep her." I just found out I was pregnant a month before this. I told my husband there was no way we were keeping this dog. I never even wanted the dog here. He eventually said okay, and he found a nice couple who owned a giant farm to take her overnight to see if it was a good fit 3 days ago. We got a call the very next morning saying that the dog was hit by a car. He rushed us to get her and bring her to the emergency vet. She needed amputation, surgery on her front paw, surgery on her pelvis, metal plates put in, etc., etc. The total cost for the surgeries was almost $13,000. They told us before doing any of the work that they had a healer rescue who was willing to take her if we couldn't afford the surgeries. I went back out to the car at this point because I was feeling nauseous from not eating anything and being pregnant. He comes out about half an hour later and tells me that he paid $7,800 toward the cost, our savings, and opened an animal care credit card to cover the rest. The card has a 26% interest if you don't pay the cost back in full in 6 months. Now he's saying he can't get rid of her because she's just been through too much and she's my friend. I'm so wildly repulsed by this that I can't even look at him the same anymore. This is divorce territory to me. All of our savings are now gone and we'll be looking at debt because of this 26% interest credit card he opened. And now he expects me to deal with carrying the dog around and squatting around the yard for her to go to the bathroom when I already have hypertension from pregnancy. I've been deemed high risk. I told him I didn't think I could stay with him after this. I don't trust him at all anymore. There were options. A healer rescue was willing to take the dog and cover the cost. But he instead threw us into debt over a dog that he told me he was getting rid of, and I'm all set. He said I'm an idiot for not seeing his point on this. I do see his point. He loves the dog, obviously. But we are pregnant and he just depleted our savings over a dog that bites faces, and I don't think I want to be with him anymore. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I'm a dog lover, but this dog seems to be putting you and your kids at risk. I wonder if he didn't ask his mother for the dog and used the guise of, "We're taking care of it while she's recovering." I'm so sorry you procreated with this man. Better to leave now, though, before he has a chance to do more damage. Although I don't imagine how that would be possible since he cleaned you all out already and then some. If he'll do this, he'll do anything. He's a cheater, just a different kind than most people think of when they hear that word. He made a major financial decision without consulting you or gaining your agreement. Worse, it involved joint funds that belonged to you and your kids as much as it did him. Even worse, he knew you didn't want the dog and you all had already agreed to another plan for the dog. And last but not least, he cleaned out your entire savings and incurred debt to fund his decision. This is straight up financial infidelity. OP got cheated on by her husband, with his dog. Man, that's crazy. I can't wrap my head around the fact that he was okay with depleting his family savings account 1 month after finding out OP's pregnant. I genuinely can't fathom such a thing. I hope she divorces him and the credit card is only in his name, so he has to pay off the debt on his own. I'd say cut your losses, OP. He can enjoy his dog somewhere else, far away from you and your kids. Quick details. Daughter, teen, is a junior in high school. She's excelled her entire life at volleyball and plays on a prestigious club team in our area. She's currently being scouted by Division I universities. 2 weeks ago, her high school had a prom. She went even though I thought she shouldn't. She had an out-of-state tournament that she skipped to go to prom. Other girls on the team missed their school's prom for this tournament. I told her what I thought she should do, but I allowed her to make her own decision and wouldn't interfere. She had another tournament this past weekend where, unsurprisingly, she barely played. She normally starts and plays most games, but she sat on the bench most of the time for this tournament. She told me that she thinks this is unfair and is being benched because she went to prom. She wants me to talk to the coach about her decision and ensure it doesn't happen again. I told her what I felt. I flat out told her no, I would not talk to her coach. I told her that she was part of a team and had a commitment to them, and she decided to be selfish and go to a silly dance. She argued with me, saying that it was a special occurrence. I reminded her of two things. 1, that other girls on the team prioritized the tournament over their proms. And 2, she's lucky to be as talented as she is, and she'll most likely not pay for college. This is an opportunity all those prom goers would probably love to have. I warned her this would happen, and she decided not to listen. She's still upset with me. I told her I hope she learns something about being part of a team. My husband thinks I'm wrong because prom is important to a teenager and thinks the coach is being unfair, but I have zero issues with what the coach did. You are the idiot. Holy crap, your daughter is literally excelling in life, being scouted by Division I universities, and you're upset she wants to have the slightest hint of a social life? If she was a general underperformer or did something genuinely bad, sure, but all this girl did was go to one social event, and she's being blatantly punished for it. Sure, the other girls went to the tournament, and that's great, but your daughter starts and plays most tournaments because she's a skilled player, and suddenly she's sitting on the bench. That's just blatant retaliation for missing one tournament, and instead of helping her stand up for herself, you're scolding her for daring to want to do anything but work for one night? Okay. By helping her stand up for herself, you mean going to the coach as a parent and telling them how to do their job. That is the kind of parenting that ruins sports for both kids and coaches. OP's not the idiot. The coach has to do what's best for the team. The coach has decided that means playing your daughter less. That's the coach's decision. Talking to the coach is not going to do your daughter any favors. She put herself above the team. The sooner she learns that her choices will have natural consequences, the better. Dude, it's a high school age volleyball, LOL. She's not a pro. Jesus Christ. If she's good enough to play D1, she's getting a scholarship regardless. They won't pull a scholarship offer because a student went to prom. But geez, lady, you need to fix your dismissive, condescending attitude and actually be a parent. You don't need to talk to the coach, but you can support your daughter's right to decide even if you disagree. About a year ago, my mother suffered a health crisis, and as a result, I, 28 male, moved back in with her to take care of her. She still has some independence, but I drive her to and from doctors, go shopping for her, help with cleaning, etc. She can wash herself, walk around the house, etc., but not much more. My father died a few years back, and up until I moved back in, she's been living on her own. Very recently, my sister, 30, and her husband, 30, separated on bad terms. Don't want to go into details, but it's a fairly hostile situation. My sister has 2 boys, a toddler and a preschooler, and as a result hasn't worked in quite some time. Now she's in the process of trying to find a job, but with the children that's difficult. Because of this, my mother suggested that she move back in so she could look after the children. I strongly opposed this. I feel for my sister, but my mother can't even really look after herself anymore, let alone provide childcare for 2 young children. If she moved in, her children would definitely become my responsibility, even though they both deny that, and I can't and don't want to add that to my plate. My sister and mother also argued that she could help with taking care of my mom, but honestly she wouldn't be much help, and it certainly wouldn't make up for the added burden of having an infant and a small child in the home. The house is big enough in terms of rooms for her to move in without a problem, but the fact that all the caretaking duties would inevitably fall onto me makes me want to put my foot down. I feel like a complete idiot, but I've considered telling my mother that I will move out if my sister moves in. Edit, I work full-time, I pay for my own expenses and most of my mother's as well. My mom's monthly pension can't cover her costs anymore due to increased medical costs. The reason why I don't think my sister will be able to look after her own kids or help with our mom is because the whole point of her moving in is so that she can get help with childcare and get a job. If she could work and provide for her kids on her own, she wouldn't need to be moving in the first place. My sister is not escaping an abusive relationship. I said hostile to indicate that they were on bad terms and not speaking to each other, but she wasn't being abused and she wasn't fleeing from him. If she were, that would be a totally different situation. She lives alone with her kids in their apartment, co-owned by her and her husband, and he's currently paying the utility costs. Not the idiot. I feel for your mom and sister, but you can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. If your sister can't even look after herself, the responsibilities of caring for her and her children will absolutely fall on you. That is an entirely untenable burden for you when you're presumably already pretty overstretched being a young working adult and a carer. Unfortunately, it's your mom's decision who moves into her house. I suggest moving out as she moves in, but consider bringing in a carer for your mum. If your sister does indeed move in and you move out, this risks your mum being neglected, so the carer will ensure her safety. While your suggestion looks appealing on paper, do you realise that mom and sister will expect the caregiver to look after the kids, not mom, and that will cause issues depending on where they are? Also, a registered health caregiver would be very expensive for the needs his mom requires. Someone who needs help for herself cannot be in charge of 2 small children. If your sister moves in, you will be responsible for the kids. If they move in, you move out and just come by to take your mother to the doctors and buy groceries. Your sister has to handle her own life. Honestly, have a conversation with your mom, and it doesn't have to involve your sister, as it's your mother's choice. All actions have consequences, and before she starts deluding herself that this will all work out, she needs to be told the reality of the situations she could soon face. I, 22 female, and my fiancé, 26 male, had our wedding date set for October of next year. We announced it 3 months ago at a family barbecue, and everyone seemed excited. We've been engaged for a little over a year now, and we wanted to announce the date before we even sent out invitations so everyone could plan for it. Our initial plan to pay for the wedding went as follows. We saved $500 monthly for a year. We're getting married at the small town family church, so $6,000 covers what we need. A week after the announcement, my parents, the bride's parents, gave a very generous $2,000 donation to the wedding. My parents and my partners have about the same finances. My parents decided to skip their spring break to donate. My mother-in-law heard about the donation. We thanked my parents publicly but didn't specify the amount. At the next family gathering, she decided to ask my parents about it, where she learned the amount and how they afforded it. There was some conversation before I walked over, but this is what I heard my mother-in-law say to my fiancé. "Don't worry, I'll pay for your next one." My mother-in-law hasn't ever liked me. She says I'm dramatic. She's probably right, to be honest. My fiancé told her firmly to shut up. My parents looked angry as well. My mom said she didn't think it was fair that the bride's side of 6 people, a small family, donated more than my financial side, 20 people. I don't have any grandparents or aunts and uncles left, so my family is smaller. I told them that I love their donation, but my mother-in-law's side doesn't need to donate. My mother-in-law responded with a snappy, "I'm not giving up my vacation just because you two are broke." I got angry and told her again that I didn't want any money from her. In mid-April, my mother-in-law posted on Facebook about her spontaneous 5-day vacation in New York with other members of my fiancé's side of the family. My parents got very offended, thinking that if they had enough for a spontaneous vacation, why didn't they help pay for the wedding? I think they exaggerated the trip out of spite, but I still kind of agree. But at the end of the day, it's their money. Now it's May, and both sides of the family are posting sassy Facebook posts, messaging inappropriate comments, and some not even talking. I posted on Facebook that we're putting the wedding off for now. I posted, "We are no longer planning our wedding for October. We want to be married and supported by loving family members, and we all know we've been lacking at that recently. We will replan the wedding at a later date." I tagged everyone, and now everyone's mad at me. I tried to stay out of the drama, but seriously, what the heck? Am I the idiot, and what do I do now? What do I do now? Elope. Give the money back to your parents, elope with just you two and a couple of witnesses, and then, if everyone complains, tell them you just didn't want to have to mediate on a family feud on your wedding day, which is a pretty reasonable request from both sides. And at least you won't have to see mother-in-law's sour face. So yes, elope. Unfortunately, putting the wedding off just multiplied the drama. Do you really think they're all going to behave better in a year? Are any of these adults going to start acting like adults anytime soon? You just signed yourself up to do this all over again. These people need to learn what healthy boundaries are. Everyone's the idiot, not a damn adult in the whole room. The parents are acting like idiots, but calling off the wedding didn't help anything. I think you're the idiot. You would not be the idiot for just deciding to postpone, but the way you did it? Dramatically tagging everyone on social media? I'm embarrassed for you. And really, you just proved future mother-in-law right that you're overly dramatic. No one owes you money for your wedding, period. Your in-laws could go on never-ending vacations and it would be irrelevant. The fact that you let your parents attack them for that is gross. I'm from India, but I live in the USA. It's basic manners to ask a guest whether they'd like to have tea or coffee. Also, I had no idea that it would be considered rude in the USA. I have or had a friend at work, Mark, and his girlfriend is Sarah. She said a while ago that she would like to visit my home. She arrived and I asked, "Would you like to have some tea or coffee?" She replied with, "What?" I repeated, "I mean, do you want tea or coffee? I have some coffee left." Her response, "You're asking me that when you know about Mark?" I was confused. Doesn't he like you having coffee or something? What about tea?" She said, "I am sorry, I'm not interested in being here anymore," and left. I got a call from Mark. He yelled at me for asking out his girlfriend, etc. I said, "I wasn't asking her out, I was just being hospitable." And he said that in the USA, you don't ask someone whether they want to have coffee unless you're trying to date them. He said, "You should have known better." He's super mad at me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but what the heck are they talking about? Is this for real? I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I've lived in the USA my entire life, and I've never heard of the idea that offering tea or coffee to someone when they come to your house means that you're asking them out on a date. It is basic common courtesy for a host in the US to offer your guests something to drink. She was fine going by herself to your house, but once you offered her a beverage, you were somehow crossing a line? That doesn't make any sense. Sarah and Mark need to calm down and reassess the situation. I don't know what she told him, but it clearly got him pretty upset. This whole experience is about Sarah not wanting her boyfriend to be friends with OP. So she asked to go to the house and made up some BS story to make OP look like a weirdo. Maybe she's worried that OP and Mark are having a relationship beyond friendship. OP, don't waste your time on these crazies.